Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really heavy, complex story. It's drawn from sources covering the disastrous Jesuit mission to the planet Rakhat.
Yeah, it's a journey that started with immense hope, astronomical discovery even, but it spiraled into tragedy, misunderstanding, really, at a profound level, and only one survivor came back.
Exactly. And this whole narrative, it stretches over decades, but it really hinges on faith, doesn't it? Like, is destiny guiding you, or is it setting a trap?
That's the core question. The mission was explicitly ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. They were looking for God's other children, as the Jesuits put it.
But what came back wasn't glory.
Not at all, just trauma, embodied entirely in that lone survivor, Father Emilio Sandoz. And the way the story's told, it weaves between the optimistic planning phase back in Puerto Rico and then the horrific return to Rome in 2059.
And we really have to start there, in Rome, with the aftermath.
Okay.
Because that trauma, it colors everything we learned later. December 2059, Sandoz is just out of isolation.
And he's shattered physically. I mean, his hands, the sources describe this agonizing alteration. And emotionally, he's demanding to leave the Society of Jesus immediately.
He won't speak.
Refuses, completely non-communicative. And John Candotti, one of the figures there, he notes Sandoz's hands are like, quote, the mark of Cain, just carrying this visible weight of something terrible he did or endured.
And there's this media frenzy outside, right?
Yeah.
Number 5, Borgo Santo Spirito is swarmed.
Absolutely mobbed. And the Jesuits, they go extraordinary lengths to hide him. First, a bread van, if you can believe it.
Bread van? Seriously.
Seriously. Then later, these tunnels connected to the Vatican, apparently, smuggling him out because he just refused point blank to deal with anyone. His superiors, the press, nobody.
Wow. That level of secrecy really shows how desperate they were to, contain the situation, the scandal.
Definitely. So backing up, how did this whole thing even begin? It was such an astronomical long shot.
It really was. It kicked off back in 2019.
Yeah.
The Arecibo dish in Puerto Rico picks up these signals. Not random noise, but music. Singing. From the Vega system.
Organized sound. Unmistakably intelligent.
Which leads to this mission and the ship, the Stella Maris, this asteroid they hollowed out. Incredible.
An amazing piece of engineering, ovoid shape, built for a long haul.
But the crew, let's talk about them. Such a fascinating, almost random-seeming group of outsiders pulled together for this, impossible task.
It's their backgrounds, especially Sandoz's. Emilio Sandoz, the linguist at the heart of it all. Puerto Rican Jesuit. Trained intensively, sure, but his early career
Wasn't standard, was it?
No, it was deliberately disruptive. Short, intense assignments, Chuck, the Arctic Circle, Sudan. The idea, the sources suggest, was to break his explosive temperament.
To teach him patience and obedience.
Exactly, preparing him for the absolute unknown by throwing controlled chaos at him constantly. Quite the psychological prep work.
That's a lot to put on someone before they even leave Earth. And the irony, Jimmy Quinn, the navigator, the very signals that launched the mission almost cost him his job.
Right. Quinn worked at Arecibo, an analog guy, really good at his job, but facing obsolescence because of AI analysts like Sofia Mendes.
Sofia Mendes, she comes up a lot. Colleagues called her a vulture, apparently.
Yeah, a bit cruel, but it was because her AI threatened their roles. Quinn, though, he was clever. He proposed this pilot project comparing human analysis to the AI.
Buying himself time.
Buying himself time, exactly. And it positioned him perfectly to become part of the mission team when the signals turned out to be real.
And Sofia Mendes herself, the AI analyst, arguably the most critical technical mind they had. Her backstory is, it's disturbing.
It really is. It shines a light on a pretty murky ethical area. From the age of 15, she was locked into this indentured service contract.
To a broker. Jean-Claude Joubert.
That's the one, a powerful figure. The contract basically meant all her earnings, her quite substantial fees for analysis, went straight to him until some unspecified debt was paid off.
The sources call it, what was the phrase? Legally resembling intellectual prostitution.
Stark language, but it captures the exploitative nature of it. The Jesuits saw her brilliance, knew they needed her for the mission, so they had to step in. They bought out her contract.
So they essentially rescued her before the mission even started.
Pretty much. A pre-mission rescue operation. It highlights the stakes right from the get-go.
Okay, so we have the linguist, the navigator, the AI genius. Then there's Anne and George Edwards.
Anne and George. The bedrock, really. Anne was an emergency doctor, also an anthropologist. George, a retired engineer, a docent. A childless couple.
And they became like surrogate parents.
Instantly. Mentors, creating this vital found family for Sandoz and Quinn, both of whom didn't have strong family ties back home. They provided that emotional grounding.
And leading them all was D.W. Yarbrough, the New Orleans provincial.
Yeah, DW, not your typical Jesuit image. A rough-hewn Texan, former air squadron commander.
So military background.
Definitely influenced him. Obsessed with perfection and systems he could control. He brought this intense military-grade competence to a deeply spiritual quest. A strange mix.
Rigor and faith.
But underneath, as we find out, a deep personal vulnerability, too.
Okay, so this unlikely crew makes it to Rakhat in 2039. And this is where the hope just implodes.
Completely. And it wasn't, hostile aliens with ray guns or anything like that. The mission wasn't destroyed by technology.
It was biology.
Yeah.
And just not understanding the culture.
Precisely. A profound failure to grasp alien sociology. They find two main intelligent species. There are the Jana'ata, the singers who compose the music they heard.
They're the dominant ones.
Oh, yeah. Carnivorous, technologically advanced radio, metallurgy, highly stratified society, very controlled. And then you have the Runa, or the Vakashani.
The other species.
Bipedal, seemed peaceful, nonviolent, the
No.
prey species, essentially.
And the problem started almost right away, didn't they? With food.
Almost instantly. Alan Pace, the musicologist, he dies during initial food testing. Poisoned himself trying little green guy meat, as the source puts it. Tragic accident during basic field work.
But the real crisis, the societal one, came from something that seems so benign. Marc Robichaud's garden.
Jesuit Marc Robichaud, he just wanted to supplement their diet, maybe help the locals. Planted earth staples, potatoes, popcorn, simple stuff.
The Runa, their biology was different.
Fundamentally different. They breed to their feed. Their population isn't controlled by cycles like ours. It's controlled by food availability, specifically fat levels.
So introducing high-calorie earth food.
Sent their fat levels soaring, triggered estrus, massive increase in reproduction, and unintended population explosion.
Wait, so the Jesuits, just trying to be helpful, accidentally screwed up the entire ecological balance of the planet.
That's the devastating irony. The Jana'ata maintain stability by strictly controlling the Runa population. They keep this predator-to-prey ratio about 4% stable for millennia.
And the garden wrecked it.
Completely ruined that balance. Led to a Jana'ata patrol carrying out a massacre to try and call the Runa numbers. And then this terrifying chant rises up from the Runa.
We are many, they are few.
Exactly. Signaling this huge societal shift, this potential overthrow, all caused by earth potatoes. It's unbelievable.
Horrifying. And after this, things just fall apart for the crew. They get stranded.
Right. D.W. Yarbrough, the leader, he dies. Severe intestinal illness, but likely compounded by the grief, the immense psychological weight of seeing his sacred mission fail so catastrophically.
And then the way back is cut off.
Sophia and Mark wreck the ultralight plane they used to land. Maybe an accident, maybe desperation, it's unclear. But the result is they don't have enough fuel to get back up to the Stella Maris in orbit. They're stuck.
That's when that moment happens between Jimmy and Sophia.
Yeah, a key emotional beat. Sophia's breaking down, the realization hitting her, they're marooned millions of light years from home. And Jimmy Quinn comforts her.
What does he say?
It's not about tech or survival odds. It's pure human connection. He says something like, we have everything we need right here. We have everyone we care about right here. Welcome home, Sophia.
Wow.
It marks this complete shift, seals their relationship, and really cements that surviving found family dynamic among those left.
If the ecological disaster was the mission's death blow, what happened to Sandoz next? That feels like the spiritual dismemberment.
Yeah.
After he's captured.
It's brutal. He becomes the property, essentially, of a Jana'ata merchant named Supari Vagajor. And he's subjected to this ritual called Hasta Akalala.
That's the thing with his hands.
Yes. It's a physical alteration,
Yeah.
painful, visible. Supari reshapes Sandoz's hands to look like the trailing branches of ivy.
Why ivy?
It's symbolic. Ivy needs a stronger plant to cling to. It was a permanent public declaration that Sandoz was dependent, property, unable to function alone.
Just horrific. And that was only the beginning.
Only the beginning of the degradation. He gets transferred, basically sold to another Jana'ata, Hovin Katheri, an aristocrat, a poet, the Reshtar of Galatna.
And Kithari puts him in a harem.
That's the term used. Sandoz was employed, or rather used as a prostitute, specifically for sterile cross-species intercourse.
Sterile.
Yes, the sources are clear. Sandoz's small human size was actually desirable because it meant no chance of cross-species offspring. It ties back chillingly to the Janata obsession with population control.
The man trained for ultimate obedience, now completely dehumanized, used for his captor's convenience.
Exactly, total degradation. And then finally the rescue ship arrives, the Magellan. They find Sandoz in this state.
But his first act,
Yeah.
it wasn't relief, was it?
No. The first thing he's recorded doing upon rescue is an act of terrible violence.
He kills the child, Eskima.
Yes, a Runa child. A little girl who had actually befriended him during his captivity, showed him kindness, called him Milo.
Why would he do that?
It's the absolute psychological breaking point. The understanding seems to be it wasn't malice. It was a horribly warped act of mercy, preventing Eskima from facing the inevitable future in that system degradation, probably being consumed eventually.
That's the unspoken trauma he carries back to Rome.
That's what he refuses to confess. It explains the silence, the paralysis, why he keeps saying, "You can't imagine the truth, I lived it." The physical pain in his hands is nothing compared to the moral horror of what he became, what he felt forced to do.
So this is where the whole thing pivots from mission failure to this enormous theological crisis.
Absolutely. Because Sandoz started believing. He saw all the coincidences, finding the perfect asteroid ship, the specific crew coming together. He saw it as God leading them step by step. Divine proof the mission was right.
But the ending just obliterates that interpretation.
Violently. The sources make it clear the author intended to explore the, quote, risks and beauties of religious faith, to push back against this easy idea of God being all hearts and flowers.
And Sandoz's final belief is much darker.
He feels utterly betrayed, used. The sources convey this sense that Sandoz felt, in his words, seduced and raped by God, that his free will was manipulated for some divine, unknowable, and ultimately tragic purpose.
That's a devastating crisis of faith. If God was guiding the steps, does that mean God intended the Hasta Akala, intended the harem?
That's the horrifying question. It strips away any comfort he might have taken from, say, martyrdom. There's no noble sacrifice here, just violation as he sees it.
And it's so ironic that while the priest, the one most formally committed, is broken by this divine purpose, the rest of the crew, they find a different kind of strength.
They do. Anne, George, Jimmy, Sophia, Mark, those who survived together. They forged this incredibly strong spiritual kinship, a real found family.
Compensating for being cut off from everyone on Earth.
Exactly. They find shared meaning, purpose, structure in their survival together. A structure Sandoz, lost in his own trauma and theological despair, just couldn't join.
And that ties into another layer of Sandoz's conflict, something from even before the capture, right? His feelings for Sophia.
Yes. He's a celibate Jesuit, obviously. But during those early vulnerable times on Rakhat, the sources reveal he felt this powerful attraction to Sophia Mendez. He realized he'd kind of kept a part of himself open, unconsciously, to the idea of being a husband, a father.
But he consciously chose against it.
He did. He reaffirmed his vows, cut that thread, recommitted himself wholly to God, believing the mission demanded it. He felt he was sacrificing personal happiness for the highest calling.
Which makes the outcome even more agonizing for him.
Precisely. And it leaves this lingering ambiguity for us, for you listening. Was Sophia maybe intended as a gift? A human connection offered by Providence that he rejected because of his rigid vows? Or was that very painful celibacy actually a necessary sacrifice for whatever awful purpose unfolded? We just don't know.
So the core paradox is just laid bare, isn't it? Was the mission this divinely guided thing that went wrong because of human error, tragic missteps? Or was the horror, the suffering, somehow part of a plan we can't possibly grasp?
And maybe the answer doesn't matter as much as the final question Sandoz himself ponders later, reflecting on the Janata.
About their society.
Yeah, they achieved something remarkable, in a way. A stable world. No starvation, no pollution, perfect ecological balance. But they paid this terrible price, institutionalized suffering, that rigid predator-prey control.
And Sandoz asks how we weigh that.
How do we weigh that stability, achieved at such cost, against Earth's own failings, where, millions of children starve, where we have our own forms of suffering, but we cling to this illusion of moral superiority? What's the truly acceptable cost for global stability?
That's definitely an uncomfortable truth to leave us with, a deeply provocative thought from the Rakhat tragedy.